Okay, so let's carry on by setting up some more of our preferences. We only need to do this once and save it, and then these preferences will be there every time we open the file. First of all, let's talk about scale. So we've got these objects in Blender. Let me just delete these and add a new one. I'm gonna move my 3D cursor to the center of the grid by pressing Shift C. Okay, now I can add a new object using Shift A. I'll add a new cube. Okay, so we have this cube, but how big is it? If we look at the dimensions, it says 222, but 2 what? Feet, inches, yards, miles? We don't know. Well, actually we do know. The Blender grid by default relates to 1 meter, so 1 square is 1 meter. Okay, but we can actually set that up more accurately. If we come across here to what's called the World tab, it's got the little icon of a globe on it. And is it World? No, it's not in World, it's in the Scene tab. I'm sorry, this I don't know what you describe that icon really. Anyway, it's got units and unit presets. So here we've got a choice: centimeters, feet, inches, kilometers, meters, miles, millimeters. We want to set it to meters, and that is pretty much compatible with Second Life. Okay, the rest of it you don't need to worry about. Angles is we want degrees, not radians. The length we want in metric, and unit scale will leave as 1. Okay, so what this means is this cube will actually be 2 meters by 2 meters by 2 meters, and this will correspond exactly with the Second Life measurement system. Okay, so now we've got that done, we can go and set up some more of our preferences. So we'll come across here to File and User Preferences. The keyboard shortcut is Control-Alt-U. If there's a keyboard shortcut assigned to an operation in Blender, usually they will have it listed next to the menu item. So we'll come across to User Preferences, and let me just scroll up here. This should open up for you in this first tab, this Interface tab, and we'll just go through a few of these. Most of these we'll leave alone. So I'll just have a quick look here and see what we should be having on. This one here I find very useful: zoom to mouse position. If let me just move this across out of the way for the minute. If in Blender I use a scroll wheel, I can scroll in and out. If my mouse is over here and I scroll in and out, it still scrolls in and out to the focused object. Okay, so if I use zoom to mouse position, okay, now when I scroll in and out, just need to highlight the Blender. I'm actually working on 2 screens here, but it'll work the same on just one. Now when I scroll in and out, if I move my mouse off to the side, you'll see that the screen will scroll towards my mouth. It will zoom towards my mouse. Okay, that is a zoom to mouse position, and this can come in very handy when you've got several objects in a scene and you're trying to navigate your way around them. Okay, just having a quick look through here, and the rest of that seems fine. Let's go across to editing. Align to world, blah blah blah. This all looks okay. Input. Okay, emulate numpad. I use a keyboard which has the numbers separate off to the side from the letters, and we call that a numpad. There's a lot of laptops out there that don't have that separate numpad. They just have the numbers across the top of the keyboard. Now Blender does use the numpad a lot for navigation and camera views. So if you don't happen to have the numpad, you can enable this emulate numpad, and that will make sure that the numbers across the top of your keypad or your keyboard act like the numpad does. Usually without that, the numbers across the top will change your layers, but there's another way to change layers. So if you don't have a numpad, make sure you check emulate numpad. I do, so I'm going to uncheck that. And next we'll move on to add-ons. Now Blender comes shipped with a whole load of add-ons. Most are disabled by default, some are enabled. And there are other add-ons you can get written by other people that you can load into Blender and use, and they're very useful. What an add-on is, it's like an extra tool that you can load into Blender to help make your workflow easier depending on what you're doing. Now there's one in particular at this point that I use all the time, which is pie menus. What pie menus do is when you click on an object, or if you use one of the hotkeys, and there are several actions that can be taken, it'll bring it up in a pie that you can drag your mouse across to select. Just to let you see how that works, say now I've got this cube, and now to go into edit mode, there's a couple of ways I can do it. One, I can press the tab key and it tabs into edit mode, and I can press tab to tab back. I can also come down here to where it says object mode. I can click this and I can go into edit mode that way and back. But there's also a number of other modes here: texture paint, weight paint, vertex paint, sculpt mode, edit mode, object mode. If I enable the pie menu, I'm just going to type pie in search here, and the one we're looking at is the pie menu UI official. Okay, if I enable that and I save user settings, let me pull this out of the way again. Now when I press my tab key, which is the default key for changing the mode, I now get a pie, and I can choose between any of these. So I can choose edit mode here, tab, I could choose sculpt mode, I could choose weight painting, object mode. Okay, this also works for other features. For example, we have the shading mode here next to the object mode, and we've got rendered material, texture, solid, wireframe, bounding box. The shortcut for this is the Z or the Z key. Let me just disable the pie menu for a minute. Save user settings. Okay. Now if I press the Z key, it goes straight to wireframe or solid. I don't have the other choices. If I enable the pie menu and save that, I'll move this across out of the way again. By pressing the Z or the Z key, I get all the options. You know, so I've got the solid, I can have wireframe, I can have rendered, which will come out black in a minute because we've got no lighting in the scene. Shade flat, which is also a render type of view. Texture, we don't have any texture applied, so it's coming out white. Material, we don't have a material applied yet, so it's coming out black. Bounding box can be useful especially when we're making objects that will use rotations and scripted rotations, things like doors and swings, things like that. And the shades move. So I'm going to go back to solid. So enabling the pie menu opens up these other options with a single click. I use it all the time. I will be using it in future videos. There is an argument that some say it's just as easy to do it the other way. This is the way I do it. If you're following along, I would advise you to do the same. Right, let's go. We will be enabling other add-ons as we go through, as we work through, but as we do, I'll let you know what they are, where they are, and if they're not supplied with Blender, where you can download them. Next tab we've got is themes. It is possible to change the colors in Blender, but be careful when you're doing this, because you can change a color of a certain function. Say the highlight is orange. Okay, now if you were to change the solid color to orange without or forgetting that the highlight is orange, well, then you won't be able to see it. So I generally discourage changing theme colors. There are themes you can download. I've used some of them, and I find generally most of them have their glitches somewhere. The best theme that works for me is the default Blender. We also have files here. Here you can set up the path to where you want your files to save, where certain files are. Generally, I've found by default it works fairly well. I haven't found a real reason to really play around with this. However, there are a couple of other options here. One of them is load UI. If you download a file, say you download a file off the internet and you want to open up, with the load UI checked, it will automatically open up with the same interface as the last person saved it as. Now Blender is customizable. You can move things around and hide things and get rid of things and generally make it your own. The load UI will load that other person's user interface. I generally leave that clicked because I like to see how somebody else works and where they were at the point it was working on. Okay, coming down, Blender autosaves by default every couple of minutes. The default is every 2 minutes. You can increase or decrease that time interval. What this means, if Blender crashes, you should be able to get your file back with only losing the last 2 minutes work. Save versions. If you open up a Blender file, you work on it some more, and you go to save it, it will automatically save the file that you opened and the file you're working on with a new extension name. Now by default it'll only save one file ahead. You can change that. I tend to leave it at 1. And just looking through here, there's nothing else here that I really need to know. And system, once again, pretty much everything here I would leave as is. One thing we will talk about in a later video is a compute device, and this has to do with the type of graphics card you have. If you have an NVIDIA graphics card, as I do, you will have this CUDA option. Okay, now using CUDA cords and NVIDIA's, it can increase or it can decrease your render times and the speed at which Blender computes graphics. But there are some problems with that, which I will talk about when we come to it. So at the minute I'm going to leave it at none. Okay, so once we have our user settings saved, we can save user settings. We can click out of that. We can get the view we like. Now, by the way, orbiting around like this, all I'm doing is I'm pressing and holding the middle mouse button or the scroll wheel, and Blender will orbit around, so you can navigate around your 3D space. Okay, anyway, once we have all that set up, we can then come back and we can save it as a startup file. So every time we open Blender, it should look exactly like this. And that's about it for the settings at the moment, so we're going to take a break here, and then we're going to move on to the standard primitives, the standard objects in Blender.